Well, the reality is when the CD's out,
Yeah.
you got to go and take it to the different towns and see if you can get some get some action going. White jumpsuit and a purple lace. At dinner time he had just left the buffet. He took the elevator up to his room. He was whistling Dust My Broom. Silver pistol on a velvet bed. He watched the TV just to clear his head. Mr. Goulet came on the screen. That's when he emptied the magazine. And Elvis shot the television. Elvis shot the television. Shot the RCA. Elvis shot the television. Elvis shot the television. Shot the RCA. Come on now. Colonel came in with the cleanup crew. The hotel doctor gave him too many blues. The fireman came in from the sound of the bell. Welcome to the Heartbreak Hotel. Elvis shot the television. He shot the television. Shot the RCA. Elvis shot the television. He shot the RCA. Loaded, the tubes exploded. He shot Robert Goulet. White jumpsuit and a purple lace. Dinner time, he had just left the buffet. Took the elevator up to his room. He was whistling Dust My Broom. Dust my broom. Dust my broom.
Thanks for coming, Jeffrey.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about touring. Why tour is the idea? Why tour instead of hanging around your own stomping grounds?
Well, I as we were talking about, I play locally, and then it gets to a point where you're just boxed in, and being a musician's kind of like taking it to the people.
Yeah.
So I always like that. You go to the different towns. I like the adventure of it. That's one reason, and it's just what we do. That's kind of what everybody tours. If you're local, I understand. If you have a family, I have a family, but yeah. I have to take off.
Well, it's good for you too, isn't it? Doesn't
Absolutely.
it freshen up the music?
Well, when you have
recharges the pump.
Well, the reality is when the CD's out,
yeah,
you got to go and take it to the different towns and see if you can get some get some action going. That's why. That's right. So you're around, you're out there going to different radio stations, different television stations like this one here, or, and trying to generate some sales and some interest, and then it all comes together. Like when I go to different towns, I'll go and do a little radio, then they write or there's an article written, and it all just starts to boil if it works right, Yeah. So that's one reason, and when the record companies were happening, you had to to tour, right?
Which you were talking about some gig you did in Worcester, Massachusetts. That was a little less than
Yeah,
ideal.
no, you know, you generally when I put out a record, I have a radio person work it across the country, right?
Yeah.
So that's another reason you travel, because the radio person's like, you're getting tons of play out, and I was getting some play in Boston. So I got on there's a really good folk station out there. I forgot the name of it. It's W something. So I went.
Boston's great for music.
Yeah, so and they pitch it out to Cape Cod, so I was getting a bunch of play there. And then this guy in Worcester, Massachusetts, has this little venue, like folk type venue, and he wants me to go out there and play. He's playing there's a radio station out there.
Yeah.
So I go out there and I drive out to Worcester. And
You drive out. Is it like a van with all the band in it?
I was doing that with a little trio. I had a little acoustic trio, trying to keep the cost down. So I get out there, and that's I'm spoiled. We're spoiled here, right? California.
Oh, in California, Worcester's a little rough.
Worcester's all brick and cold, and it's just like, yeah. So, but I keep an open mind. So I'm like, where's the gig? And it's an old rug factory. Yeah. It was funky. It
had rugs.
Yeah, it was a rug factory. And the guy had like put chairs in the rug factory and made a little venue. But so I try not, I was getting paid enough, and I go into the rug factory.
The money's good, and you're the hired hand.
The guy's kind of loopy, but he loves music, and you go in, and it was a good crowd. I mean, reality is, if you have a good little crowd, it doesn't matter if you're in, a great theater or
when you're touring,
a 10 by 10 room. If they're super into it, it makes it worth it.
Absolutely, and if you're touring, you want at least someone to show. What's the smallest crowd you had when you're touring? Like none?
No, I'm trying to. Yeah, let's flash back on that. Yeah. So one time I played in Salt Lake City, and it was a place called the Dead Goat. It was an awesome place. I had 2 nights there. The first night it was like 7 people. Yeah. And then we went
7 people and a bunch of dead goats.
Yeah,
on
it
the
was
wall, right?
And it's you got to buck it up. But although I've learned a long time ago, when it's dead, one time I went and saw Mavis Staples at the Fairmont.
Yeah.
And there was probably 10 people there. And it was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, you get to hear
so
it,
at that
you get
point,
to be up close.
no, I know, but she was just like that. So I kind of learned as a performer, because I know all the performers, and we kind of go up and down on this ride, if it's crowded or if it's dead, and you just do it. I
Isn't it the same old thing? You're playing. You're playing to the crowd, no matter how big the crowd is.
That's right. And the next night we went to the radio, to the station down there, and then it packed up the next night. But But I mean, there's the stories are great with the I mean, it's hit or miss a lot, but on the weekends it's really good. That's how it's worked for me. Now some of the artists, they're selling it, they're packing it up every night, and that's where we all want to get,
Yeah, but on that little roller coaster, if you will, during the week, do you have a different attitude to it when you're hitting a midweek gig?
Yeah,
you
have
to.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you have to be.
Are you phoning it in, or are you doing the obscure songs that you know?
Well, it is a little bit like a race, though, because you want to keep yourself, your endurance, because
you're pacing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm guilty of that sometimes, where I'm just kind of coasting along and waiting for the, man, I know I'm getting to Austin on Friday, and I want to be good then, but,
So what are you singing differently at the one-horse town on Wednesday as opposed to what you're going to do in Austin?
I found myself thinking like that, but the next thing I know, I'm like giving it everything I've got. That's what you have to do every time. You have to just go for it. You can't. I was thinking like that, but I ended up like, you can't let them down. You got to go.
It's just like anything. Even if there's one person there, you still want to put it on, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten so tired of it you want to quit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get to the point where you're just so, you haven't eaten well, and you've maybe drinking a little bit too much, and you're just like, oh my God. I mean, everybody's watched The Last Waltz, right? Or maybe some of the younger folks haven't, but, I think, what is Richard Manuel? That's so good, that scene where he's like, we always said, we just want to break even.
Right, right.
So, but if you're up, money-wise, you're in a much more positive spirit because you can live a little better, you know.
Yeah. What's the best place you wound up at? What's a nice road story that you hold into your head as a paragon of
this
goodness?
is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many of them.
Sure.
There's so many good, you know, good shows. But the one that I love is we were coming down through Salt Lake, and it was I guess a private. They have private stuff going on there, so it was like a private speakeasy. So we went there. We go to the speakeasy, and it's like I think it's an old mining shack. It had a stage in it. It was a restaurant, but it had a stage in the back.
Really?
So yeah, it was interesting, kind of like a supper club, right?
This
but
was better than the Dead Goat place.
But the Dead Goat place is awesome, by the way. That place is killer good. It had great, you know, it was an old brick room. It was a nice venue. But I think it closed. Everybody knows that one. But this one was, I go in, everybody's having dinner, and they're like, okay, well, when the dinner ends, you'll be playing in the back there. And, you know, we're
sure
like,
not
cool,
to eat too much,
and they say, and there was a great wine bar, and they're like, well, just have at the wine until we get you to play. Yeah. And and there's probably about 200-300 people in this place. It's huge. And they're all having dinner, and it's loud. And then, you have an opening act. And I'm like, okay, cool, good, this will be great. We have more time to kill. I can go sleep in the car or whatever, right?
Work off the dinner.
So this woman comes in, and she's got like what are the Australian?
Didgeridoo?
She has a didgeridoo.
No
and she
kidding.
carts it in, and she puts it on the stage, and she starts her show, and she's just blowing it.
Really? A solo didgeridoo act? Are you kidding?
And I was like, this is interesting. This is like...
It's certainly different.
And then she took her guitar, and then she'd go back to the didgeridoo. It was totally bizarre, right? Everybody was overly nice. That thing, right?
Because that doesn't always go over
and
so well.
And then the owner of the place, we finally met him, and he was a San Francisco chef at one time. Yeah. And he said, hey, the way we do this is after the show is over, I cook the band dinner. And I was like, wow, that's kind of nice. That'll be good. So, you know, then the didgeridoo, we do our show. Yeah. And right when we start playing, just everybody starts getting up and dancing. Everybody's somewhat three sheets at this point.
Oh, lucky you.
No, the whole place starts rocking, right? Yeah. And then a lot of the people were coming in, and I mean, the tip thing was huge. I didn't have a tip jar out.
You didn't?
No, I don't do. I mean, it's a paid show, right?
Yeah.
I don't usually do tip jars. Yeah. I do sometimes, but that in general. Yeah. You know, we got about $1,000 in tips.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. It was insane.
From 200 people?
It was.
Wow.
All right. Well.
Pretty nice.
It was unbelievable tippage. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm exaggerating, but there was a lot of $100 tips.
1,000 in your head.
No. Yeah. But it was a lot of $100 tips. Okay. Yeah. So. Which was amazing because you'd look and you'd be like, it's 100.
Nice.
You know, and the place rocked. People were falling in front of us. Blah. It was just
where was the didgeridoo gal?
They had left. She was back in the. You know, she was probably watching from the side.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
So they were tipping like crazy. Everybody rocked. We were getting paid fantastic. They put us up in a patron had put us up in this really beautiful apartment house in Salt Lake. So it was one of those, that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool.
That was really cool. And so...
Be tough to leave.
And then, at the end, everybody clears out. It was a great gig. We're very fat on the money end. And he's like, I'm going to make you dinner. And he makes this amazing dinner for the whole band. There's maybe 3 or 4, you know, him, his wife, and a couple other people. And it was ridiculous. We were there till like 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And my bass player's like, more wine for everyone, you know. It was just like, God, that was fun.
And this is your second dinner too, right? Didn't you eat before you did the gig?
No, because the guy, I mean, I'd snacked. But no, the guy said, you know.
Hang in.
He's like, hang in, you'll get it afterwards. And a lot of times before you perform, you're not ready to eat. It's better to eat after.
Also, no,
I ate energy bars before.
I hate eating.
So that was, I mean,
food before.
That's one of the. That was a really one that really sits there in my head as a great gig.
Okay, when you're getting ready to go on a tour, Do you dread it, or do you look forward to it?
You look at where, some of the places are so great to go back to,
It's like a free way to go see cities.
Places are constantly closing, though. We used to play this place, the Garage in Reno.
Yeah.
Then we go to the Dead Goat. Then we go to Park City. Then we'd wind up in. So I'd played a lot of the places.
Yeah.
And we'd done well there. So we were on a consistent roll.
Plus, they know you. You got a little bit of an audience.
But a lot of the places
in.
like the place in Reno closed. The Dead Goat closed. So that's what I constantly deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is too bad. It's kind of like busking, because I know you did busking in San Francisco. Isn't it a little bit like that? You're showing up at the corner. I used to bus from city to city, and you show up, you rolled out your case, you don't know really what to expect. It's kind of like that, showing up at a new venue.
I like the way you segued over to the street playing.
There we have it.
Nice.
Because that's a form of touring.
That's
itself.
so much harder. I mean, that's but when I used to play the street, I played with these two guys.
Yeah.
That were amazing, right? And so
what were their names again?
Harry Spider and Jimmy Ventilator.
Right. Yeah.
And Jimmy Ventilator, he was amazing. That guy. He was like, it was for me when I was playing on the street, it was like guitar school.
All right.
So I'd go down there and I'd be like, okay, I got to keep up with Jimmy, and he'd never let me play a lead.
Really?
He'd say, when I see that you have the rhythm fantastic, then I'll let you. And then and I always found that to be a great rule for guitar players anyway. Like if the guitar player doesn't hold the rhythm down great, then.
Well, that's the thing. It's if it's street music or if it's going to city, it's being a musician is better as a journey, isn't it? Rather than just playing one place all the time.
That's right. Oh yeah. It's an adventure. It's super fun. Sometimes funner than others. Or funner is not a word, right? More
funner works here.
All right, good. My daughter's always like, Dad.
It's all right. You be the role model.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jeffrey.
Hey,
thanks for coming, man.
Nice talking to you.
All right.
I'm moving to Mars. Yeah, I think I'd like to try me out a life in the stars. My friends all say I need a place to air out my heart, so I'm moving to Mars. You know, this life has been crazy. Sometimes I think I'm not really here. Every time I turn around, another friend is going down.